Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.
All right, Paulie, let's go.
Arriba con la conga. The layers behind Hollywood's powerful, pioneering Hispanic Desi Arnaz. Welcome to the channel, the Latino Slant. Paulie here. If you have been paying attention, we've been doing a lot of videos on Being the Ricardos. The movie is out. It is absolutely incredible, a masterpiece of storytelling and acting. One of my favorite acting performances is Javier Bardem's take on Desi Arnaz. So most of this article talks about the inner workings of the film, behind the scenes, how the film is created, and the story plots and all that stuff. We have that in the full review of Being the Ricardos here on the channel. But I wanted to get to a part in the story that I feel is probably just a fantastic how do you say it? It's different than the rest of the article, and I think it's worth talking about. Desi Arnaz, Hispanic, Latino, or both. The team behind Being the Ricardos faced a fair amount of criticism for casting Bardem, who is from Spain, as one of the most defining Latino entertainers of all time. And that's Desi Arnaz, and I would say Javier Bardem is one of our most prolific Latino actors of all time. But, there's critics pointing out that, because, and it says here, Sorkin defended the casting, having an actor who was born in Spain, playing a character who was born in Cuba, was not demeaning because Spanish people are considered Hispanic. It goes on to say the word Hispanic, which emerged from the 1960s, accounts for people who can trace their roots to Spain or Spanish-speaking countries in Latin America or the Caribbean. The word Latino emerges 3 decades later to include other Latin American countries where Spanish is not the dominant language, such as Brazil. And I would agree with that, as Miss Slant is Brazilian and Portuguese and considered Latina, which I consider her Latina as well. And I've always considered, for that matter, to me, Hispanic, Latino, I don't get too bogged down. It just, anyone that speaks Spanish and we're all connected with that language is a Latino. Now, but let's move on, because this is where it gets good. Lucy Arnaz, the daughter of Arnaz and Ball, who was also the film's executive producer, had posted recently in regards to Javier's performance. He had everything that Dad had. His wit, his charm, dimples, masculinity. He had his strength and tenacity. You can tell this from his performance that he just loved him. That's what she said. And I so agree. You could tell that they just loved being these characters. God, it was, you forgot they were acting. Now, I want to go on as well in the story. And did I skip it? Because what I also want to do is, yeah, here it is. And I did skip it, which is really important. Okay. Arnaz, a light-skinned Cuban, also leveraged his experience as an immigrant to boast about the American dream. You got to remember that they didn't want him to be in the I Love Lucy show because he was Cuban with a thick accent. As an entertainer and businessman, Arnaz walked the fine line between resistance and conformity. He knew when to push the boundaries of conformity just enough to keep viewers interested and when to fall in line to avoid being canceled. And that's masterful right then and there. For instance, Ricky Ricardo's most memorable music number, Babalu, refers to a deity from an Afro-Cuban religious tradition known as Santeria. And yet white Americans don't seem to know or mind that a light-skinned Cuban aristocrat, which Arnaz was from, he was from an aristocratic Cuban family, which has, I believe that family has direct relatives from Spain. So if we're going to get to the if we're going to be nitty gritty about it, an actor like Javier Bardem is more connected, or just, if we're going by skin color and all, checking the boxes, Bardem matches it more than, let's say, an Afro-Cuban actor. And that's, we're not even talking about a person's talent, right? Unfortunately, we're hitting the boxes now more days than ever. But that's really a whole different discussion. Let's get back to this. And yet, white Americans didn't seem to know or mind that a light-skinned Cuban aristocrat was exposing them to tinges of African culture. A figure similar to Babalu, known as Saint Lazarus, existed for Cuban Catholics. For Bardem, one of the most unforgettable moments on the set was reprising Arnaz's rendition of Babalu. It's the trademark of his, of Desi Arnaz as a musician, Bardem says. It was challenging to bring that energy. It was also very specific of what he represented as an entertainer. That energy he was bringing onto the stage, it was kind of new for the time. At that moment, it was beautiful to perform for sure, he said. I'm going to go, there's a couple things here. This is just, I love that this was even talked about in this story. Desi's performances were in I Love Lucy, Babalu, Cuban Pete, were just groundbreaking. You have to think of it as what Elvis was to rock and roll, to a mainstream audience, 1950, 51, to see a man speak Spanish, maybe broken English, but with dignity and machismo, and then to perform like the way Desi did. It was almost, he just like what the article said. He was surprised he wasn't censored enough. He knew how to really dance on that line of being canceled and being censored. And canceled then was like, not gyrating too much, I guess. That's what I'm talking about. Now, that being said, the performance that you see in I Love Lucy with Babalu, it's so Cuban, it's so African Cuban that you were just surprised that this was even allowed on TV. I always loved that part when Desi was doing his conga solo, and he rips off his tie, and his hair is wild because he's so like channeling that Cuban spirit, and then of course that African deity connection, and it was just it was amazing. And I've always loved that performance, and I am so glad that they have that in Being the Ricardos, because like I said in the review, one of my favorite parts was seeing Desi performing in the 40s with his band in Ciro's, the Hollywood club with all the glitz and glamour, but then to see his fire performing. So this story, I really dig it. It makes me want to dig deeper into the song Babalu. I think what we'll do is we'll do a separate video on Desi's performance of Babalu and how revolutionary it was. But here, Javier Bardem brings out a multifaceted Cuban-American actor. It is a grand performance, as is Nicole Kidman's, and it is probably my top 3 male performances of the year. Good article, and it also just sheds light on what a visionary businessman and kind of in his own way civil rights pioneer that Desi Arnaz was. And everyone's got their own way of breaking down walls. So that's it right now. Check out all our videos. I'm going to connect you to a couple of other Being Ricardo's videos we have on the channel. We'll see you next time, and wherever you're at, keep your slant fuerte. Ole, 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 ole.
4, 3, 2, 1.